Hello and welcome to another episode of Husky Trails. This video is part of a Bikejoring series, and in this one I will go over some general thoughts and things you should be aware of if you want to get into this with your dog. If you're looking for information on Bikejoring equipment you need and how it's set up, I have linked a separate video on that. There's also a separate video that discusses how to pass other people and dogs on the trail, what to do when your dog wants to chase after a squirrel or other wildlife, and general tips for good trail etiquette. The first thing I do with my dog before we start is to just take her for a little walk. Not only does that stretch and warm up her muscles, but it also gives her the chance to relieve herself before we get going. The other thing I let her do is have some playtime with other dogs. Or if there are no other dogs, I'll play with her and she can do some off-leash zoomies. Both of these things are really important for your dog before you start. Not only does this satisfy all their other needs, but it also helps them differentiate between walking and potty time, playtime, and work time. Once your dog is hooked up and you get going, you want to try to stop as little as possible because it'll interrupt your rhythm. I also do not allow Laika to play with other dogs while she's hooked up to the bike. Having off-leash dogs run into your line, trying to play and getting tangled up can end really badly. That's why it's important that your dog understands that there's no monkey business once they're hooked up. But that's also why you have to be fair and give your dogs the time and space where they are allowed to play with other dogs and go off and do their own thing. Once you get going, it's probably not perfectly smooth mushing right out of the box. It is normal for your dog to still be interested in things along the trail and to want to stop and sniff. It will likely take your dog a bit to understand that they're not supposed to stop anymore and to get a rhythm going with you. Laika, for example, has a tendency to mark a lot at the beginning. In those situations, it's really important that your dog knows the on-by command, which tells them to keep going. So you give them the command and tug on their line to keep them going. After a few times, your dog probably gets the idea and falls into a rhythm with you. But it's important that you don't get frustrated if it takes some time at the beginning to get going. So for us, sometimes it takes us 2 minutes to find our rhythm, sometimes it takes 15. It really depends on many different factors. How new is the activity? How much practice have you had recently? What's the temperature like? This is especially important with Huskies, and it also depends on how many distractions or interruptions you have along the way. Also keep in mind that dogs can have good days and bad days as well. Don't get frustrated. Patience and positive attitude is key with this. The next thing I want to talk about is speed. Because many people have the misconception that bikejoring and dog mushing in general is super fast and the Husky just zooms down the trail with you trying not to crash. And that is absolutely not true. In fact, that kind of out of control speed is how most accidents happen. When doing mushing of any kind, ideally your dog is at a trot. The average speed is between 5 and 10 miles per hour. Now your dog may break into a sprint here and there, where you can reach up to about 25 miles an hour, but that isn't prolonged. Laika, for example, breaks into short sprints here and there when she's feeling like it, or on specific stretches of a trail where she likes to go faster. But the average speed is not very fast. In fact, if you bike regularly, bikejoring will probably feel rather slow to you. The exception, of course, are specific dog races, where the idea is to run as fast as possible over a short distance. But in general, you aim for going a longer distance at an energy-conserving pace. A good way to think about it is the difference between a sprint runner and a marathon runner. For dogs, a mushing Husky would be a marathon runner and a racetrack greyhound the sprinter. Another really important thing I want to talk about is being focused. A lot of accidents I see or hear about happen because people don't realize how focused they need to be when doing this. Many people go into this thinking it's a relaxing joyride where you can kind of go la-di-da down the trail with your dog. It is not. When you do this, you have to be 100% focused on your dog, the trail, and your surroundings. You need to be able to read your dog and anticipate situations and how to react to them. Ideally, you see the deer, the coyote, the hiker, or off-leash dog before your dog does. That is why I'm never on my phone or listen to music or have any other form of distraction when I do this. In my experience, focus is the best way to minimize the risk of an accident. Another really important aspect for safety is to know the trail. It is important that you know the trail and trail conditions in all seasons. In the trail systems we usually go to, I know which trails are wide and smooth, which ones are hilly and rocky, and which ones are bad after rain, ice, or snow. A trail that you know really well in the summer can be very different to mush on in the fall or winter. Whenever I explore a new trail system with Laika, we always go hiking there first. Hiking is a great way to get to know a new trail system and learn about the conditions on the paths, how busy it is with other people or dogs, and what kind of animal activity you have. The last thing I want to talk about is knowing your dog's limits. When you start out, start small, maybe go up to a mile. Keep an eye on your dog's energy and happiness level. When you feel your dog is starting to slow down or is losing interest, call it a day. Your dog needs to slowly build up to longer distances. Just like us, your dogs need to build up their muscles and cardio. You should also take breaks. Don't push yourselves too hard. And always make sure you have water on you for your dog. You can also give your dog a small snack, but do not feed your dog a big meal. Your dog should never run on a full stomach. In general, remember dogs have good days and bad days too. Some days will be better than others, and that's fine. This should be a fun team-building activity where you and your dog enjoy being active outside together.